Hello everyone, John here with WebDev for you, here to help you build awesome websites without code in Webflow. If you're new to these live streams, I do these every Monday through Thursday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central, and we cover everything Webflow, how to build layouts, how to create interactions and animations, and I provide support via the Super Chat feature on YouTube. So today we're going to continue with the theme from yesterday, which was gradients and grains. So just keeping it simple. We might work on some interactions today, but just keeping it light and simple with working with gradients and just having fun with design in Webflow. Did want to mention that Nelson at Webflow is having a stream at this time as well, and he's starting now. So if you're interested in the speed challenge, definitely go check that out. It just coincides with my live stream, which is cool. But yeah, if you're interested in that, he's announcing it. So you can definitely check it out on Webflow's YouTube channel. All right, so we'll continue with the theme from yesterday. Let's just continue building gradients. I have a few sites that I brought up here, and we might try to recreate some of these animations. But yeah. So let's go ahead and go into Illustrator, and let's just work more with gradients. So we're not working so much in Webflow maybe this week. We'll work a little bit in Webflow, but I just want to hit home the gradient idea. So today I want to put the gradient inside of text. So here, this is a gradient inside of text. We'll work on it a bit more so it's a bit more obvious. But here I have a blank artboard in Illustrator, 14 by 40 by 900. You can make it any size you want, really, but yeah, we'll just have fun with this artboard here. So initially I had a circle, so let's do a rectangle, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle like this, and great. And then I'm going to go ahead into coolors.co, and I'm just going to grab a color here. So we're going to grab a really out there color, something really bright like this. Let's do this pink just for fun. And we'll go into Illustrator and we will use this color. So I'll just paste that color in there. So now we have this really bright pink. And like I mentioned yesterday, we want to go into the color guide, and I want to use the analogous colors. I find that those provide the best gradients. So I'm going to grab these middle colors and some tints. So I'm going to hold down Command on my keyboard and just grab a few tints. I don't really need darker tints, but I'll add them so, just in case we want to access them, and something like this. Okay, and then I'll create a swatch. I'll click here to save the color group, and now I have this color group in my swatches. Great. So now I can go to the gradient, which is right here, or the gradient panel, and you can access it by going to Window and then Gradient, and then here I'm going to create a freeform gradient. So it adds these dots to this rectangle. So I can click on the first dot and just, I want to change it to points actually here. So I'll click this first dot and we'll set it to pink. And then I'll just kind of change the colors here on these dots to create the gradient. Something like that. Then I can add another dot and get really kind of interesting with the gradient. Yeah, so we can get really out there with some really interesting gradients. I kind of like that. And something like that. You can also use the lines feature. So if I click on lines, I can, draw a line for a gradient, something like that, and set it to a color. Oops, let me undo that. Yeah, gradient. Yeah, I can select this side and change the color. Select this dot and change the color. Let me change the color here. Okay. And then I can grab the dot. I can move it around. Thanks, Joey. Appreciate it. And just create some interesting gradient like that. This would actually be nice as a background. So maybe we'll do that. We'll add this as a background into Webflow. Something like that. And that's pretty cool. I like that. And just hit escape to kind of move that. I might move this gradient here a little bit. And maybe I'll move this to the center, just so we have a little bit of contrast for the text. So the text will be darker, and we'll have this nice white centerpiece, something like that. All right, and you can curve, you can add another dot, and then click it and connect it to this dot, and do a bunch of really interesting things in Illustrator. So the freeform gradient option is really cool. Yeah, you can do so much neat things with it. So yeah, we'll do something like that. All right, cool. So that's a pretty cool gradient. I like it. Not gonna work on it too much more. I could spend all day on this. I love gradients. Let me add a point here. I can add one more color. Oh yeah, that's nice. All right, cool. Yeah, I like that. And then I can add a blur to the entire gradient. So I can go to Window, select the rectangle, go to Effect, Blur, and then Gaussian Blur. And that just provides a bit more blur to the gradient. So I can click OK. Or you know what? Let's do the blur in Webflow. So I'll go to File, Export for Screens, and I'll save this as a PNG, Export Artboard, and I'll say Website Background. Okay, Export Artboard. Okay, so we have this gradient. I'll go into Webflow, and let's see, I have too many tabs opened here. So it's right over here. Here's my project. I'll create a new page here, and new page, and gradient background. Okay, so we have a blank page. I'll add a section, give it the class name section, and we'll say section combo class 2, or let's delete this. Let me just add a new section, call it section 2. Set the min height to 100 VH, and then I'll drag and drop this background image in here. All right, and I actually want to, let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna add a div block into here. I'm gonna call this background gradient, and let's set the position to absolute and full. And then I'll add an image inside of here. So I'll choose image, and I'll select this gradient, set it to 2x, cover, or just set it to cover. Yeah, perfect. And center. I kind of like it, or we'll do center. Okay, cool. So we have that gradient, and now we can add a filter, and I can say blur, and I can blur the gradient a bit more. Okay. So that looks pretty good. I just have to be careful with the edges. The edges are a little bit blurred, so maybe I can change the width and height of this gradient to 110 by 110. And then for the section, we'll set it to flex, center, center. And I think that should do. Let me try 120%. No, that doesn't really change the border there. So let's change the blur to maybe 5 pixels. Yeah, it's the only thing I don't like about using the blur. I think I'd have to change the size of the background. So custom, no. Yeah, it adds kind of this little border around the edges of the site. So, I guess what I could do is, we have section 2, we centered it. Yeah, unless I make the image bigger. Or what I'll do is go into Illustrator. Let's try this. And we'll just make this a little bit larger. So 1500 by 1000. Something like that. And then we'll blur this. So effect, blur, Gaussian blur, and something like that. Okay. And then file, export. So I'm doing the blur inside of Illustrator instead of Webflow. And just renaming it. And let's go back into Webflow. And I'll drag and drop this image in here. And let me replace the background. Yeah, it actually looks really nice. Okay, and let's set it to 2x. No. Okay, that looks good. Cover. Okay, and we'll remove the blur. Yeah, we don't need that blur. Okay, nice. So that's a pretty cool background, kind of like that. And we can add a grain now. So to this background gradient, or actually, yeah, let's add a noise overlay. So I'll add a div block, and we'll just say noise overlay, and we'll set it to position absolute and full. And then I already have a grain here, so I'll just add it. So we'll add the background, choose image, and I'll add the grain, and I'll set it to 2x. And just like that, we have a really interesting kind of gradient background to the site. So now I can add some text. So I can say, add a heading, and I'll add the heading inside of the section like this, set it to relative to bring it to the front, and I'll say, let's see, bringing your designs to life, something like this. Hey Rashid, how's it going? I'll set the font to sign, and yeah, that color is good. And we'll set the font size to something larger. And let me set the section to left. And this text we'll do 1.3 dash, looks good. And we'll add some margin, or to the entire section we'll just do 5 VW from the left and 5 VW from the right. Cool. And if I wanted this to kind of match some of the colors of the gradient, I could go into Illustrator. Let me just draw a rectangle, and I'll just grab a darker variation of this. So maybe this purple. Copy that and paste in here. All right, so yeah, the contrast isn't great. I probably would want this gradient background to be a bit darker. So let's grab the background gradient, and we can go into the filters, add a filter, and I'm going to select brightness, and I'm going to bring the brightness down of the background gradient. So maybe like let's see. Well, no, I don't want to change the brightness. Maybe it's the contrast I want to change a little bit. Let's try that. Wow, that's interesting. Contrast. No, I won't add any filters. We don't need a filter. But yeah, let's try changing the brightness of the text. Make it a little bit darker. Cool. All right, so just like that, we added an interesting kind of background to a site with gradients. The Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it. So we added a little bit of design flair to the site. It would depend what you're going for. That might be too much gradient for a background, but we can also, instead of adding it to the background, we can add it to the text. So I'll just hide this for now. And we have this text. So for the text, I can add an image gradient. For the background, I can choose the image, and we'll just grab this image. I'll set it to cover, center it, and don't need it to be tiled and not fixed. And then right here under clipping, we'll just select it, and I'll say clip background to text. All right, and then I can kind of play with the gradient. So now the gradient is inside the text. And for the section, let's just give it a darker background color, like this. And as you can see, we now have the gradient inside the text. So many ways to use gradients. I just wanted to showcase kind of the power of Illustrator and using the freeform gradient option. You know, I'll create a new artboard just so we can play with it a bit more. But yeah, we'll do it one more time. So basically I just go to coolers.co. We'll grab any of these colors. Let's try something. Yeah, usually brighter colors work actually. They work a bit better. So something bright. Let's try this orange. It's not that bright, but how about this orange here? And we'll go into Illustrator and we'll add that color to the swatch. Then we'll go into our color guide, go to analogous to, and just select these colors. So these are like nice autumn colors. That could be really cool. And I'm holding down Command to select these swatches. And then I'll create a new palette. And now I have it in here in my color palette. So let's create, maybe we create a kind of a unique shape. Let's see. How about an ellipse? Sure. Why not? Or octagon, or what's this? This is a polygon, yeah. We'll do something like this. I'll hold down the right arrow on my keyboard, or click the right arrow to bring up the gradient tool. Then I'll select freeform gradient, and we'll just go through and adjust these colors. We'll add one in the center. And we'll add another one here. Cool. And what I might do is round these corners. So I think I can select them. Yeah, just select the corner and round it. Now we have this interesting shape. And let me remove the stroke here. And yeah, that's kind of a cool shape. I can rotate it, hold down Shift. That's cool, actually. I like it when it's rotated. Nice. So we have this interesting shape. I can go to Object, Artboard, Fit to Art, or let me make this bigger actually. Maybe 800 by 800 or 900 by 900. Go to Object, Artboard, Fit to Artwork Bounds. And was it you yesterday, Aaron, that asked about like an eye moving within, like the eye moving with the mouse? That could be something cool we do today. So maybe after this we'll do that. Export for screens and call it gradient shape. And export artboard, go into Webflow, and let's try this. So I'm going to add this image of the shape. I'll remove this background gradient, or yeah, we'll remove this one. We'll remove the color from the section, and for the background gradient, we will add this image, set it to cover, center, and 2x. Let's see, and make it display like so. And I would probably set to contain, and I don't need it to be tiled. Cool. And what I might do here, rather than have the noise overlay, I'll just add the noise to the gradient, background gradient. So I'll add a new background, choose image, choose image, grain. Oh no, that's not gonna work. Okay. Okay, gotcha. Actually, yeah, that looks pretty cool. So we'll remove the clipping, set it to none, and then we will set the section to center. Cool. So yeah, you can get real creative with just different designs in Webflow and just have a lot of fun with it. So let's see. Apologies about the dog. He's wigging out again. Let me grab this color. And that's kind of a cool gold color. I'll change the text color here. Awesome. Yeah, it's a really unique, I really like this color palette. I might save it. Yeah, so I'll probably change the background color here to an Illustrator. To maybe something a little bit lighter like this. Yeah, I'm really gonna save this color palette. I like it a lot. Section 2, and we'll just change the background. Sweet. Wow. All right, cool. So I can segue into the grain. So yesterday we didn't have much success with creating the grains. I kind of messed it up a few times. Animating the shape, that would be awesome, Rashid. We can definitely do that. Yeah. Cool. I like that design. I'm literally going to save this color palette, so I'm going to save this to my computer. Might work with that color palette later. Gradient. Gradient color palette. All right, cool. Yeah, so I can segue into creating a grain. So let's go back into Photoshop. So I'm going to create a new artboard, 400 by 400, click create. So yesterday we had a bit of an issue where I was having trouble with creating the grain, and we're just going to try again today. So basically what you want to do is create a new color layer. So I'll click here, select solid color, and this color should be white. Okay, so it's white. Then we add the grain to this. So I'm going to go to filter, noise, add noise, convert to smart object, and we'll add the grain here. So I can add, I'd recommend either 10 to 15% of grain. Any more than that, it's getting a little bit too much. So I'd say like 15. And monochromatic, so uniform and monochromatic. You can do Gaussian, but that's a little bit different. I like uniform. And then click OK. Hey Joseph, what's up? Hello, hello. Aaron, can you do border radius on CSS polygon? I think so. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, so we have I'll get to that in a second. We have the grain here. So we created a solid color, applied the grain. Then we go to image. So let me select it here, this layer, image, adjustments, invert, then layer, flatten image. so it just becomes one image. Then we'll create another solid color layer, and it's okay if it's black. And then we want to change this solid color to a mask. So we select the mask option here, and now we have a mask. Then for this background, I'm going to unlock it here. So we just have this layer. I'm going to select it, hit Command C to copy, then hold down Option click on my Mac, or Alt click on Windows, I believe. Then I'll select the layer mask, the white part here, and I'll paste. So now we have that grain in there. And if I hide this first layer, we just have the grain, because the grain is in the mask, so we don't have the background color. Okay, so that worked out. So now I want to go into Illustrator, and I want to grab that darker color we used for the text, which is right here. I'm just going to grab it, go back into Photoshop. I'm going to right click and add a blending option. Then I'm going to go to color overlay and select it, click on this color and paste that color I copied from Illustrator, and then click OK. So now our grain has a bit of a tint to it, has a color tint, so it's not just black, which could make for kind of an interesting feel to the site. I find that adding small variations of tint actually does affect the feel of the site. It can make a site warmer or colder depending on the tints, and I think that's a really nuanced design thing, but I find it really interesting. So I'm going to export, quick export as PNG, and I'm going to save it into my grains folder, and I'm going to call this golden grain because it's not golden, but it kind of feels a little bit like that. So I'll go back into Webflow, and let me just grab that grain. So golden grain, drag and drop into Webflow, and let me open it. So you can't really tell, but the grain is there. Like, this is what the grain looks like. It's probably hard to see it on the video, but it's there. So now I'll go back into the background gradient, and I can choose the golden grain. Okay, so right away I can actually tell the difference. It's really subtle, and I know it's probably hard to see on the screen, but that's definitely, I think, the move forward. Like, if you have a specific color theme to the site, it's kind of interesting to use that tint on the grain, like that specific color. And you probably want to lean towards the darker colors because you want your grain to be a bit darker. And it's just a nuanced kind of subtle thing. But when all your colors kind of match throughout the site and it has the same color variations, you're in line with the same color palette, it does make a lot of difference to the feel of the site. The site just feels more cohesive and consistent. So yeah. So I think there was a request to make like an eye move within like a div. So we can attempt that. But yeah, this is what it looks like here. We have this nice gradient and this text. And you know, if you want to add a button, let's do that real quick. We'll add a button in the section. Let's make the section vertical actually and centered. And the button is here, so the button should be relative. And sure, we'll just call it button. And we'll grab this color. So the button, we'll add a lot more padding. We'll say enter. We'll change the background to that color, and we'll add a border radius of, let's say, 30. Change the padding from the top, and change the text to sign. And we'll make it bold and add some letter spacing. Cool. And we'll just add some margin from the top, something like that. I might change this to like 8. Yeah, that's better. So you could have a cool kind of homepage, just, you know, using some unique gradients, buttons, and text, and have a really nice design for your site. All right, cool. So just wanted to showcase that a bit more. I know yesterday I kind of covered it, but I wanted to cover it in a bit more detail today. So Illustrator, super powerful tool for gradients. You know, free form, you can create any shape and bring it into Webflow, and then you can create grains in Photoshop. There's also, if you don't want to create the grains in Photoshop, you can go to noisepng.com. Thought that's what it was, noisepng. Okay, noisepng, yeah, that's what it is, .com. And just create a grain here. But I didn't like it as much as creating it in Photoshop. I felt like I had more control of the grain in Photoshop. You can set the percentage, and you know, you can add a color overlay to the gradient, and it just makes things a bit more unique. Also, like setting the color similar to some of the gradients in the background also gives it a cool effect, because you can feel like the gradient is blending into the background. So yeah, very nice. So yeah, someone asked in my YouTube channel, they asked, like, they want to create like an eye and have the eye follow the mouse, like the pupil follow the mouse. So that's interesting, and I kind of want to cover that. Let me just think how we would do that. Yeah, let's try it. Yeah, let's try it. So let's create a new page, and I'll just name the page something like eye animation, and we'll add a section, call this section 3, set the min height to 100 VH, and I'll just center it, center. Okay, cool. Nice. Cool, so I'll add a div, and let's set the height to 200 by 100, and to create the eye, that's the part that I'm looking at. So yeah, we'll add a border to this, and then the border radius. So let's see, 300. Interesting. I'm just gonna play with some numbers here. Yeah, I'm trying to get a more rounded bottom to create like the eye visual. I don't know if we can do that with the radius option, maybe using percentages. Yeah, percentages might be the way to go. Oh yeah. Oh, sweet. Cool. So yeah, use percentages and we can create an eye-like structure. Oh, that's awesome. 200%. All right, so let me try 250%. Yeah, it's getting there. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it. Yeah, I guess that's I like. It's not great, but we'll work with it. And then I'll copy and paste. So we have two eyes, and we'll just give it margin from the left and the right. And I'll just call this eyes. Then we'll add the pupil. So I will center this, center. And add a div block. We'll call this people, and I'll say 50 by 50 and make it 50% in radius. Set the background color to black. All right, so we have our eyes, and now we want them to move with our mouse. So when our mouse moves around the site, it follows the mouse. Yeah, so we'll just select the pupil, go to interactions, or actually go to page trigger, and I'll say mouse move in viewport. And on mouse move, we'll play a mouse animation. I'll click the plus, and we'll call it eye movement. I'll select this pupil, and when we're all the way to the left, so we'll move the pupil, let's say -5%, or maybe, no, -100%. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, -100%. And we move to the right, we'll say 100%. And we'll affect both eyes. So we'll say affect class, so it affects both eyes here. And then on the y-axis, we'll move it. It can't be 100% because we don't have that much space, so maybe -50%. No, -25%. How's that? -25%, and then 25% down. And again, we'll do class. And that's it. I think, yeah. We'll save it, and we'll adjust the smoothing to maybe like 80. And there we go. And if we wanted to get more creative, we could design the eye in Illustrator. Because initially I thought we were going to have to set an overflow hidden to the div, but we don't. We just have to keep the eye in the bounds of the div. And maybe I'll make the smoothing maybe 60, so it moves a little bit quicker. There's my mouse, and the eye is following the mouse. Cool. So this could be a cool design thing we do, and we can maybe tie it all together at the end with gradients, the eye animation, and all that good stuff. So let me just create a new artboard. We'll say 200 by 200. And this will allow us to create better eyes. So I'm going to select the arc tool, click here, click and hold. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. I've never created eyes in Illustrator, so this might be a good practice. So I think I'm just going to use the pen tool. So click and click. We'll do something like this, and then I'll click here. All right, then I'll copy and paste this, and we'll just transform it, object transform. We'll say reflect horizontal. Okay, it's not perfect. I kind of like that it has a little bit of spacing. Yeah, I guess you could do something like that. It looks like these are little lashes at the end. But let me try a bit more. So pen tool. Something like this. And then we'll do like this. Yeah, let's I'm gonna put this to the side for now. This one isn't maybe as good. Can adjust it here. Kind of curve it in. Yeah, it's cool. Maybe I'll make it a little bit wider, like so. Okay. So we have that eye. I'm not gonna spend too much more time on this here. All right, cool. So we have the eye. I'll go to object, artboard, fit to artwork bounds, and we will just hide these eyes because we don't need them. Object, or maybe do I like those better? No. Okay. Object, artboard, fit to artwork bounds. Okay. And let me just adjust this a little bit more. Hey Dylan, we're just creating some eyes here. Artboard, fit to artwork bounds, file export for screens, and PNG, and I'll just call this eyes, I1. And then what I'll do here is I'll just say object, transform, reflect, and we'll say vertical. Click OK, and then file export for screens, and we'll say I-2 export. Okay, go back into Webflow. We'll remove this border radius from both, and the border, actually that's kind of cool, robot eyes. But we'll remove the border, and I'll add a background image here. So let me go into Webflow, get the 2x, or these eyes in here, just drag and drop. Okay, then we have I1. So we'll add a background image, choose image, select this one, set it to cover or contain, and center. And I don't need it to be tiled. Okay. And then this one will be eyes 2, and choose image, and I'll select this one. Okay, cool. And then I'll make this pupil a little bit smaller, or I can make the div a little bit taller, 125. No, it's contained, so I would have to make the width a little bit bigger, 250. Oh, and I should have saved it as SVG. So let's do it again. Whenever you're creating paths, you want to save it as SVG to retain the quality. So export for screens, SVG. Okay. Export artboard. Cool. And then we'll just redo the reflect. File, export for screens, and this will be I2. All right, cool. So let me go back into Webflow and grab those SVG images, drag and drop, and let me replace these. You probably can't notice it, but here on my screen it's like pixelated a bit, and that's because we're using a PNG. But as soon as we select an SVG, we don't lose any quality to the graphic. All right, so we have our eyes, great. We have the pupil, and yeah, I'll make the pupil just slightly smaller, maybe 35 by 35. All right, cool. And then let's see. Yeah, let's add them to the gradient. So let me add a div block and put these eyes in the div block. And we'll say flex. Great. And we'll call this eyes wrapper. Okay, then I'll copy this and we'll go into our gradient background section. We're getting very designy today. It's kind of fun. And I'll just hide this heading. We'll paste these eyes in here. Let's see, this shouldn't have a apostrophe at the end. Where did I put the eyes? Yeah, they should be out here. And at the bottom, nope, at the top. Position relative. There we go. Oh wow. And then we want to go to interactions, page trigger, mouse move and viewport, start an animation, and we'll select the eye movement here. That's a little bit silly, but let's remove the enter button. Yeah. And if we wanted to even take it a step further, I'm just getting kind of creative with it. Choose image. We could add an image to the eye, or a gradient to the eye. No, that's too much. Huh. That's kind of cool. Yeah. So that's how we create the eye movement. I don't really like that background in there. Let me remove it. Yeah, we can create really unique things in Webflow and have the mouse follow, or have the eyes follow the cursor. I might do a video, just on this. We can make that his mouth. Make this button more into a circle. Oh my god, that's a little too much. 60, and move this down. No, definitely doesn't go with the gradient, the nice gradient feel. You have this really out there button acting as a mouth. Nope, doesn't work. Unless I made this smaller. Yeah, that's better. He's like, oh, what happened? So yeah. I think that's it for today's live stream. Just having fun with design, and I'll probably send this to the person who asked about how to make eyes follow the mouse. We can even get more pronounced with it, like with the eye movement. You know, maybe if I set the smoothing to 0. No, we don't want to do that. 50%. I could just set the movement up and down a bit more. Actually, I probably wouldn't do that. No, I like the amounts of movement I'm moving it, because we don't want it to go outside of the eye. So he's just following the mouse. Yeah. Cool. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Kind of a more relaxed live stream. We didn't get into too much layout building. I have been checking out quite a few different websites just to get inspiration. You know, there's tons of different sites out there, and they all have unique kind of layouts and images. Like this one is cool. It has an image for the text and all that good stuff. Some nice icons is always nice. Good typography. Cool images. I think it's a spa. And yeah, so this one I found really interesting, and I'm gonna try to recreate this in Webflow. This is a Webflow site, by the way, so super impressed with this site and how they did this. So I'm gonna try to recreate this and maybe showcase it in a live stream. I think it would be really fun. Yeah, it looks like a video almost. Yeah. Alicia Keys. One thing I found, and I don't know if it's just me, But I go to like these really great artist websites and their websites aren't good. So I'm just wondering if they don't have access to good web designers. Like this Alicia Keys website, for someone who's so talented, I think she deserves a much better website than this. The images are cool, but like it's just big blocks of images and not the greatest experience to go through the site, I have to say. Like design wise, it's just like whoever designed it is, I mean, whatever, I'm not going to say anything, but the text scales, that's kind of and like these images are so huge, like I can't absorb content that way. It's too much visually for my senses to just go through big images and video. Like I don't even want to bother. Like things need to be visually engaging for me, or like succinct. And look at this menu text is white on a pretty white background. Like nothing about this site to me expresses Alicia Keys, who's like a classic pianist and amazing songwriter and like amazing music. And this website does not represent her at all. And this menu is just janky. It's just a blurred out menu with text. Like, no. Like, I don't know who she hired, and I'm not trying to knock anyone, but I know a handful of Webflow designers and developers who could knock this out of the park in like less than a week. So yeah, just don't want to rant or knock anyone, but I've noticed that. And too, like Taylor Swift, you're getting a feel for my musical taste. Taylor Swift has the worst website ever. Like she's like a Grammy award winning artist, and her site is just super janky. Like, like it's just, there's so much talent out there, and to have websites like this is not great. Like, I don't know, who's another artist? I don't name an artist, and maybe we can go to their website just to see. I like Radiohead. Oh, you know who has a good website, a really cool website? The Gorillas. Gorillas.com. Okay. Or I thought it was good. I remember them having a really cool website. No, maybe they don't. Amazing. Like, it baffles me, like all these great artists with really subpar sites. What about YouTube? I know YouTube probably has, I don't really listen to them, but they must have a good site. Nah, it's okay. Like blocks and just no design cohesion, really. Somebody name an artist that they like, and we can check out their website. Let's see, who's another artist? I'm sure Justin Timberlake has a good website. No, it's just a video. Like, so much more could be added to these artists', sites and image or whatever, and look and feel. But just having blocks, like I could literally build this site in 5 minutes. I'd probably time myself because I could probably do it. It's like a Instagram slider. It's a book, or Tennessee Kids. Just a hero image, like, it's cool to showcase that. Like, showcase images are powerful and they showcase a lot, but there's just so much, and the shop goes out to a different site. Like, you can do all this in Webflow, have an e-commerce site in Webflow, and just knock it out of the park. Who's another artist? I'm just using mainstream artists right now. Yeah, I don't know of other artists at the moment. Dr. Dre. I like Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre official site. No, no. Like, come on, this image is not even a high quality image. Like, what are we doing? Who's building these sites? I guess people haven't like found good Webflow designers and developers. I mean, you go to Product Hunt and you just get a look, you just get a feel for what designers are really doing. Like a lot of Product Hunt products, their sites are built in Webflow. You know, probably not going to find one now, but I don't know. Just look at any site and you can find so much more good design and shadows and colors, just a lot of good stuff. And if you are going to use images, you can use higher quality images, right? Like if I go to Dr. Dre's website, and I'm sure he probably doesn't even care about his site. I think he's like a billionaire now. But you go to his site and the first thing you see is a pixelated image. That's just like, what? Eminem. Let's see. At least this image is higher quality. Like, I don't mind that. Okay. So here we have a much better site, right? We have red, which is kind of creepy, but whatever. So we have red, and there's just more of a theme to it, right? You hover over these cards, and you have like an underline, right? Like just subtle little things to make the website pop, right? You have these little interactions. I can click in. It does go to another site for the shop. Let's check out events. Yeah, definitely much better design than probably 95% of other sites out there. So yeah, at least they, probably found a good web designer and developer. This is a slider, that's fine. But I mean, just look at what you're learning here and what you're learning with Webflow and what value you can provide to not just, to anyone basically, artists, businesses, any type of client. You can provide really, really good website. So last one, I'm going to check out the Eternals website. The Eternals, so marvel.com, because I know that's a new movie coming out. So I just want to see if they have like a nice site. So Marvel's, yeah, obviously they're gonna have a clean looking site. The text is nice. It's kind of, I don't know if I would use this effect for the grid. We can see it kind of pops over other images. Yeah, it's a little amateurish, I would say, having this pop-up effect where the images pop over one another. I'll probably use a little more finesse for this type of movie where it's like, feels kind of elegant. I would use a little more finesse for this animation. Let's see if they have their own specified website. Eternals, the Eternals website. They probably don't have their own website, but they could, right? Like, what was an interesting one? Captain Marvel. Okay, so you're probably gonna maybe laugh at this, but there was a design. Okay, this isn't a great example, but it kind of is. Like, they got creative with it. Like, they went way back to like pre-2000 websites, and they made this really interesting design. It's an interesting design choice, but it works, right? Because we can all relate to this. And I know this might not be the best example because I'm talking about like really elegant design and stuff, and this is the complete opposite of that. But because we all have that history of these type of websites, it was fun, right? And because in Captain Marvel they went back in time to like Blockbuster era, they wanted to use this type of idea. So design doesn't have to always be, and look at this, all this scrolling at the bottom. That's hilarious. And there's a Stan Lee here. That's funny. But yeah, cool. So getting more into design, definitely I wanted to talk more about these topics. So Dylan wrote, John, quick question. It's about domains. When I publish my website and then type the URL in it, it changes to www. Do you know why it might be doubling? So Dylan, that probably has to do with your custom domain. So this is what I went over yesterday with Bailey. It could be that you haven't set a default domain or your DNS settings aren't correct. So if I remember correctly, so it would be weirsims.com, I'm guessing. No, that's not it. I don't know the domain of your site, but type in default domain Webflow and look at setting a default domain, because this might help you, fix any domain issues. And if you're still having issues, I would go to connecting a custom domain, then Webflow, and then just follow these instructions, and just make sure all your settings are correct. If you're still having trouble after that, there is another article called Troubleshooting Custom Domain Webflow, and then just troubleshoot your DNS settings. And you can have a look here and just make sure that everything is correct here. So yeah, let's go to wearseams.co.uk. All right, so let's check it out. What's my DNS.net? So we'll paste this in here. A records, that looks good. And CNAME. So your CNAME isn't set up correctly, Dylan. So if we go to custom domains, you want to add proxy. So connect custom domain Webflow. You want to add proxy. What is it? SSL. Here we go. So what's the value? Hold on one sec. I think it's proxy-ssl.webflow. Update your DNS. Okay. Update the DNS. The DNS would be, where is it? Yeah, proxy-ssl.webflow.com. You want to add that for the CNAME. So it's DNS. But yeah, gone over a few minutes. Thanks everyone. That was a lot of fun. We kind of work with this. I definitely recommend, if you're new to gradients, let me turn on my light again. If you're new to gradients and you have Illustrator, I definitely recommend playing with Illustrator. Play with the freeform gradient tool. Such a powerful tool. And the gradient options in Illustrator are just super awesome. So I would just have fun with that. And I know the Photoshop technique I offered was a bit in depth, but just rewind this live stream and kind of see what I did. Yeah, basically just create a color layer, add the grain, flatten the image, invert the image, flatten it, create a new layer, add a mask, and then paste the grain in the mask. So yeah, hopefully that helped. I'll leave it with this. It's kind of funny. So yeah, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of the day, and I will be here tomorrow. Feel free to ask any questions. Spread the word. Let everyone know about these live streams. I definitely want to continue to build momentum with the live streams. Let's see if Nelson is done, or if he's still going. Let's see. I think he finished, but he announced the speed challenge. Yeah, so that was done. So definitely check that out, and I'll just bring it up here because it's, if you took the time to come to my live stream, thank you. But there was definitely a cool Webflow live stream going on at the same time, and it's this one here. So it's announcing the No Code Conf 2021 Speed Build Challengers. Awesome. So I might take a look at that and just check it out. So, all right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of the day, and see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.